Welcome to the Only One Mic podcast called Gerard, Brooklyn Dre, just me. Got a special guest today, my man J-Rob, finally checking in. Good to see you, brother.
What up?
All right. So, we're going to cover a couple of topics today. Of course, the, so-called purge law they got going on in Chicago, the death of PnB Rock, and we're going to touch on this whole migrant workers being dropped off in Martha's Vineyard. But first, we got some house cleaning items. All right. Listen, we here at the Only One Mic podcast really, like the support and everything, the engagement and everything is getting better. But listen, we need more subscribers. We want to try to interact with the audience more. When we telling y'all hit that like and subscribe button and them notification buttons and all that, man, we not just saying that because that's just status quo. I mean,
stop playing around.
Stop playing around, man. Go ahead and hit them,
hit the like buttons.
Like buttons and everything like that, so we can get.
We done spent a lot of money in commissary and helping people out, man. Hit the like buttons, man.
Yeah, you got families, friends. Tell them. You know what I mean. You got a crew. You better tell them. Just like, man, just go ahead and hit the like and subscribe, the notifications, man, so we can get y'all involved in this because we're doing this for the people, man.
We like the fact that y'all watching, but y'all need to hit them like buttons, man.
Yeah, need to hit them like buttons, man. So, we're gonna jump right into the topic, but we just want to make sure that y'all understand that before we go any further. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this whole Chicago, quote unquote, purge law. And the more you go into it, I mean, it seems like they're just gonna let a bunch of criminals out to the layperson that's looking at it and think that, it's just going to be nothing but crime running around out there and every man for himself and killing and murder and all of that. But it's not really what it seems. You know what I mean? It's a lot of misinformation out there in terms of that. So everybody familiar with it? Y'all on the channel?
Yeah, I got it. We got it. Yeah,
so, I mean, y'all up to speed on it. So, all right. So here's what's happening, man. What we're going to do is we're going to play a quick clip. And this is coming from Fox 32 Chicago to kind of give you a rundown on what all of this is about. And then we'll, start the discussion from there, y'all. We're just having a conversation today. Here we go.
January is spurring pushback from law enforcement and causing a stir on social media.
It's called the Safety Act, and it's aimed at reforming the state's cash bail system.
Tia back now with more on exactly what it will do.
Well, Natalie and Corey, there's a lot of confusion and possible information out there. But one thing is for certain, change is coming. New Year's Day, Illinois will become the first state in the country to eliminate cash bail. Those that support the Safety Act says cash bail criminalizes poverty, fuels mass incarceration, and disproportionately impacts communities of color.
You've been denied a bond because you're dangerous, which is good. Let's deny dangerous people bonds. But if they have a bond, we're saying you're not dangerous. We're just going to keep you in jail because you're poor.
DuPage County State's Attorney Robert Berlin says he supports bail reform.
You want the right people in custody. Violent criminals, people charged with violent crimes who are a threat to the public should remain in custody pending trial. Everybody else has a right to bail.
But he's also concerned. The controversial law limits who can be arrested and held in jail based on the crime allegedly committed.
Judges will not have discretion unless the person is a willful risk of imminent flight.
Many members of the law enforcement community are working to have the current law amended.
I'm very concerned about an increase in violent crime. But again, I do want to stress there is still time to fix it.
So what do y'all think about that?
I feel like it's not a big shock to me. This is not uncommon. This is not like new news. They're doing this a lot. They've been doing this in New York. And I know that ever since the pandemic, they've been doing this in New York. Like they wasn't arresting people, like keeping people in jail if they got caught with drugs. Like before, where it used to be a big thing, like if you was hustling on the street and they caught you and they locked you up, you had to spend whatever amount of time before your trial in jail. They're not doing that no more. That started a lot when COVID really hit. It started a lot. They haven't been doing that.
Well, remember, it hasn't been completely implemented yet, but I know what you're saying. You're saying that they're just not locking up people like how they used to, supposedly.
Yeah,
As
like,
of right
okay,
now.
like they saving space in the jails for people that's really doing something. Like if you out here murdering somebody or you get caught with sex trafficking or something like that, that's what they freeing up space for. The little average nickel and dime on the corner type dude that would have spent more time in jail and probably would have looked like he did something to all his boys on the street, even though he really wasn't moving weight. They don't stay in jail no more. They
Hey,
come home.
listen. Initially, when they started talking about this, I was like, "Wait a minute, hold on. Somebody need to be in jail, man."
Nah, it's like,
That's all I've been seeing.
Yeah.
Huh?
it's like,
That's all I've been seeing. They said they was going to be letting a bunch of murderers and everything out as of the first.
Yeah.
That's what you would think. The optics of it is bad.
Yeah.
nah.
Well, you know what happens is that, it's become a political thing. So now that the Democrats and the Republicans is doing their thing, the Republicans is making it seem like they're letting out like the worst of the worst. But and really all it's saying is that, they're letting out nonviolent offenders. You know what I mean? Like somebody that they perceive not to be a threat to society.
Right.
So that's what they're saying.
And it's not just in New York. I'm not just speaking for New York. It's like in a couple of states. I remember hearing that in Delaware. That's why I was asking you, like, y'all don't remember when they said they was going to do that in Delaware? Like, if you're not doing, unfortunately, Delaware has a lot of crime, going on, like in comparison, like to New York. Yeah, New York has a lot of crime, but it's a much bigger area. You know what I mean? Like for Delaware to be so small, the crime that pops up in the city is, and even in lower Delaware, because Dover's not too safe in some areas either,
You know what's funny about that? People say that all the time, and don't get me wrong. I'm assuming that obviously the numbers, kind of like explain, why they feel that way about Delaware. I feel safe in Delaware. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's because look what
Always
you
have.
I always felt safe in Delaware. I mean, I know that they say crime is bad, but honestly speaking, I don't feel the heat like how I felt growing up in New York. You know what I mean?
I mean, you should feel a different type of not, I won't say fear because I'm not saying you're a scary person, but you should feel something else. And look at the cop that in Dover that got in trouble just recently. You know what I'm talking about? Where he kicked the dude in the jaw while I think he hit the dude. The dude was about to fall, and as he was falling, he kicked him in the jaw, and the dude like fell and busted his head, and he didn't get in trouble for that. And they ended up letting him work he used to work in Annapolis, I think, Maryland. And when they pulled the footage on him, he had done this like time and time again. He finally got in trouble, and another cop presented the body cam or the camera, and he got in trouble. Like, that's the type of stuff that we need to be afraid of. The cops, the Klan, and all of that. That's the stuff that worried me about Delaware. When they said that the Klan was walking around Christiana Mall, I'm like, okay, this doesn't feel right, because you don't see that in the city. You know what I'm saying?
But let me ask you.
The crime is bad out there.
Let me ask you this question. But how do y'all feel about this law? You know what I mean? I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I think it's a step in I'm not saying that it's right and everything is good with it, because I'm quite sure it's going to have its pros and cons with it. Initially, I thought it was something crazy that they were trying to do. But I feel now, I'm like, at least it's a step somewhere in the right direction of some sort of prison reform. Like, instead of, people sitting in jail for nonviolent offenses and weed charges and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always go ahead.
I would say I just hope that it don't backfire on us, where all their people is getting out because of, they got petty charges that they claim to be nonviolent, and they get a chance to go home to their family. And then, in most cases in our communities, if you is hustling, you got a pistol on you. So everything becomes violent. So our people's going to be sitting in jail and not getting out, and all their people going to be getting out.
Well, see, that's the thing that always scares me, is that when they put these laws in effect, especially the way that they were able to get this to go through, it always like, what's on the back end?
That's what I think about too.
What's on the back end? Why was this so easily to slide through the system? You know what I mean? Like, what's on the back end? Because this actually looks like it's something that's working towards us. But then, well, we know historically, when something looks good to us, it's not really what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I encourage all the listeners too to go check out what is what is eligible under this particular law, because every state is doing something different. Like I'm looking at New York's, and there's a lot that falls under that, like criminal use of chemical weapons and biological weapons, things like that, gang assaults. Like I've actually seen, I think in Chicago is even if you did like domestic assault or something like that, domestic abuse, you didn't get held long or whatever. But everybody, I encourage you, go to check your state, if your state is eligible for this bail reform, to see exactly what it is that falls under you being able to be let out.
And like J. Rob said, he was saying that how they let them out, they might let them out under this law. But the funny thing is they already let them out under that law. You know what I mean? Like they already let more Caucasian people walk out of jail on some serious offenses than opposed to us. My son's mom, I remember years ago, she was working down in the court system, and she was saying how when they brought people up to her, black and white, they would have the same offenses, and they would allow white people to just go home, white kids to go home, no matter how many times they have violated something. Or she's basically weighing like, all right, well, this guy got the same drug charge. Why is one going home and one not? You know what I mean? And this goes on all the time anyway. So, and we already know justice system is unfair. It is what it is.
There's a lot of disparities. And it's like, even if you look at the average, since school is in session, the average college student who, let's just say HSBC, you always get that thing, historically black university.
Right.
Student.
College. Yeah.
Might get caught with some weed, end up doing a little bit of time or getting kicked out of school. But if you go to like Harvard and, white kid does the same thing, it's the college experience. He's going to get high. He's going to get drunk. Let's tap him on the shoulder and keep him pushing. You know what I mean? So it's like, those are the things that we look at.
Just a misguided kid.
Yeah. Just a misguided kid, or he just made a mistake. So it's always going to be disparities in this whole
but the worst is when it comes to those cases of like rape victims, things of that nature. But it's on all levels, because y'all remember the dude, and I forget his name. He's been in a lot of stuff. The one that played Nat Turner.
Yeah.
And then, he was up for an award, and then they dug in his background.
Slipped the rug out for one day.
And you know who else had the same charges, the same exact thing going on? Casey Affleck. And Casey Affleck ended up winning the award that year.
Hey, let me tell you something. I don't know if he done it or not. Everything is alleged until it is what it is. But listen, if you rape somebody, you should get what you get, man.
Yeah, I agree.
That's how I feel. But I don't know if he did it or not. I'm not saying who did what. I'm saying you gotta be a sad individual to rape somebody, man. Rape is sad, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, man. But we want to make sure that we see exactly what falls under these laws, folks, because it's a fluid story and it's going to keep moving. You know what I mean? And every state didn't hit it yet, but a lot of them did. So check your states and see where it falls at. See where you fall at, because African Americans, Caucasians, different justice system, as we all know, and this is why we have equity.
I forget the laws that they specifically put out there, but the one thing that bothered me about it is I didn't hear in there like non-violent drug offenses. I think that's the major reason why a lot of people are sitting in jail as of right now. You know what I mean? I figure if you got a non-violent drug offense, you should be able to come home. And I don't suggest nobody go out and sell drugs. That's not my thing. I'm not telling nobody to do that. I'm just saying that if you're not a threat to society, you can come on home.
That's what's going on. They're releasing people. They're not keeping them in jail like that.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so moving on, we're going to hit this next topic. As we all know, earlier in the week that rapper PnB Rock was killed in Los Angeles, specifically out of Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, apparently in an attempted robbery. And fortunately, the young man lost his life. So I got to be honest with y'all. I'm not familiar. It's not my generation of music and all. So I'm not really familiar with all of anything that he's done. I've just heard something after he died. I'm being honest. But, I'm just looking at it in terms of loss of life and everything like that, over something that's just frivolous, man. So,
he is from Philly, right?
He's originally from Philly. Yeah. His background originally from Philly, and, he moved out to LA, so, he's out there.
This is not the first time that he got threatened, that his life got threatened.
Yeah. Expand on that a little bit, because I know you was telling me about that the other day. Go ahead.
That's rappers. That comes along with the territory, man. That's everybody.
It does, man. But expand on that, though, Justin. Expand on that.
What I'm saying is, in the past couple of interviews he's done, he expressed that he's been pressed a couple of times while being in LA. You know, he expressed it. But this last interview that I saw yesterday, because I happen to like a lot of his music. It's a song rocking on the radio right now, and I forgot who he collaborated with, but it's hot. I didn't even realize it was him. And like it's like, you know, top whatever. When they do the countdown, it's like number 2 or 3.
Now, was this before he died or after he died?
No, this has been rocking on the radio for the past couple of weeks. He's been in rotation.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and maybe that's because, well, like I said, that's not somebody that you, like you said, rather, that's not somebody that you're familiar with. But I didn't realize that this was him. I've been listening to him for a couple of years. Actually, I like him. I like the young boy. I like some of his music. And I think he was given a different sound. But this last interview that I saw yesterday, it was with, like, I guess a quote unquote gang member. Like him, they're talking, you know how the stars go on live and then somebody will hop into the line. So now they playing this a lot. I don't know if y'all got a chance to see it, but the dude was like, hey, you know, like the big homie, like the dude is like, the big homie want to pull up on you. And he's like, whatever, pull up then. I don't care. Like, what are you talking about? He starts laughing, like he laughs it off.
But they said that was an old. They said that was an old interview. That was an old interview.
Everybody in the comments is like, "Yo, go after that guy right there. He's the one." But I mean, I don't know.
But you know what's funny about that interview? They say it's an old interview, but the funny part about that, well, I won't say funny because the kid lost his life.
He lost his life.
God knows, please forgive me for saying that. I'm not saying funny, but the dude that he's talking to, you see how he's looking at that jury on the video. Like, he's like, as he's talking to the kid, the kid PnB Rock, he's like, that's a nice chain. You know, like he's eyeing the jury. He's eyeing the jury while he's talking to him.
How can you not do?
Yeah, you can't. Like you said, man, it's wide open, man.
I don't understand why you go to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. I'm not knocking nobody, and God rest his dead, but why would you go to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles with $1 million worth of jewelry on?
You know what, though? I'm not going to say with $1 million worth of jewelry, but I'll tell you this.
But why?
New York and I even say Philly.
You know to tuck your chain.
Yeah, well, you know to tuck your chain.
Nah, that's the whole point of having it on, because you want to be a star. You want people to see you.
They want people to. Well, I'll say that.
If I'm at an event, man, when I'm at Dame Dash had on it was the flyest chain, but it was the most simplest chain I ever seen. It wasn't all thick. He didn't have 50 chains on, and he had a small cross, and it had diamonds in it. Like, it was beautiful. It wasn't flashy.
From a different generation.
Yeah,
it don't have to be. Well, he's flashy.
This is what I was going to say, man, in regards to that, is this generation, like you said, is different. New York and Philly dudes, for some reason, man, we always feel like we got to go to the hood. We just want to see what the hood look like.
It's not just New York and Philly. That's
everywhere. As kids, this how we do. Yeah. You know what I mean? And LA is not a place where you want to go around. LA, you know what's funny? When you look at LA, it's beautiful, it's sunny, you know, it looks cute.
False insecurity out there.
Yeah, and for us, when we look at a neighborhood like that, we're like, oh, this is beautiful. You know what I mean? But it ain't like that in LA. And I was in the military with some LA dudes, man. They stay different mentally, man.
So let me ask you a question, man, because now that you bring it up like that, like I've been watching a lot of different, you know, I guess you could say the big homies out there, man. It's, especially like, was it OG Nino Cappuccino? He had to kind of come back and clarify a statement he made about checking in, saying that, when you touch down in these different, when you touch down, you're supposed to check in with the homies or whatever like that. But a lot of people are arguing the fact that sounds like extortion. You know what I mean? To say
it is extortion.
But he's trying to clean it up to say that it's not. So it's just like say, J Rob, I'm coming to Philly. All right. I'm coming to Philly, man. Just look out for your boy when I get there. He's claiming that's checking in. You know what I mean? But
if you got a personal relationship with people, that's different. You want to let them know you in the area, whatever the case may be. But if I'm not just calling some random cat telling them I'm around.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
you basically lining yourself up.
Exactly. And I'm like, that kind of sounds like extortion to me, man. Like, say, why would he need to check in? Especially if the kid lived there. He didn't live in that hood. But I'm just saying, that just sounds funny. What do y'all think?
I think what they're doing is these cats is giving the green light on you. If you don't call and pay the right people, they're giving the green light on you.
I just feel like it's messed up that, you know, they blaming the girlfriend. Like, in this day and time, like, that's what these young people do. You know, when I go out with my little cousins, we can't even eat before they it's up on Instagram, like our whole meal, where we at, they put it right up. And I'm not used to that. Like I was walking, I was in an area that I frequent a lot, and I was walking by and a fight broke out, right? And when the fight broke out, I can't even tell you how many people was like standing back with their cameras already like recording. And I see a female on the ground. I'm like, hold up. I run over to like, help her get up off the ground. Like it's a whole dude fighting her. It was crazy. This generation is just different. So the little girl, and I call her a little girl because I probably am old enough to be her mother. Like she's like tagging, like we over here. That wasn't the first place that they tagged. So basically, you just gotta know, like even with the Pop Smoke thing, you just gotta know, like people is watching. When they find out your location, they watching. Even in Atlanta, like they watching. That's
first of all,
invasions.
She's probably green. She probably don't know what's going on. That's number one. But that's still the whole point of it is whether or not she posted or not. He's a celebrity walking around with hundreds of $1,000s on his neck. Somebody in there gonna take a picture of him. You know what I mean? No, and not to mention, he in the hood. He in the hood.
Yeah, they said that's a real gang area. So
yeah.
If she ain't dropped the location, you pull up in a Maybach. Somebody gonna come get you.
Yeah.
Or somebody already watching me pull up in a Maybach.
Yeah.
That's just normal. Like if I see a Maybach, I'm like, yo, who driving that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like who's in that car? Like you want to know who pushing that Lamborghini truck? What's going on? That's
about the same as like, going to Junior's and getting some cheesecake in Brooklyn. Everybody in Fort Greene know who you are. They know where you at in this day and age. You know what I mean? If they're still moving like that, you know what I mean? So, I mean, especially back in the days, if you're sitting in there with hundreds of thousands of jewelry on your neck, it's like a bullseye. You know what I mean?
And I think in Cali, they call you a mark.
Yep.
Well, I think people forget, man, that, these rappers forget, man, that $100,000 chain you got on your neck is like 4 years salary for some people.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because, and I want to get your opinions on this. Tamika Mallory actually did a quick little interview. I guess it was by way of TMZ that I got the clip, but she was talking about that, and she was saying that the reason that things like this happen is because of the disparities in the neighborhood and all that good stuff like that. Well, not good stuff, but and I just want to get your opinion on this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play this clip. I want y'all to listen to it, and y'all tell me what y'all think about just the statement.
All
right, here we go.
America is dangerous. Certainly black men have always been an endangered species in this country, but it is in general, in every space where black men are trying to exist, there's a danger. And I think what happened to this young man being robbed, being killed, is unfortunate. And while some of our government officials are playing games with hyperbole, we need people to deal with economic challenges in the black community, to seriously focus on bringing resources, jobs, educational opportunities, and trade opportunities to our young people so that they can put down guns, pick up books, pick up resources, and pick up a debit card that they can use to feed their families and feed themselves. It's not just LA. We look at young Dolph in Memphis. We look at young people, first of all, artists all over the country. Atlanta has also been, unfortunately, ground zero. In New York, whether you're a rapper or not, people are dying every day. Poverty is violence, and that has to be addressed. Coming out of a pandemic, people are struggling. We're doing some things to deal with the middle class, but there has to be something done about impacted people that live in marginalized communities, and it's got to be done right now. And so I think that that's what this is all about. It's calling out to our government. You're never going to stop all violence, but you can certainly bring it down when you make people comfortable that they know from day to day in inflation that they can pay for groceries. Because when a person who has resources, goes to the gas station and has to pay $100 to fill up my tank, I know it's hurting average Ray and Keisha who don't have the resources to do so. So we've got to deal with economic challenges. And we've got to deal with mental health.
All right. Now, a lot was said in that statement. So
I kind of agree with her.
All right,
I can see.
Before we,
I normally don't agree with her, but
yeah, I was going to ask you guys.
You know what's so funny? And when you said we got this commentary from Tamika Mallory because of this guy here, I started laughing like I can't even. But no,
I just don't like them. I don't like them. Ambulance chasers, man. Political hustlers, man. I think she got some good. She have a good too. She has a serve a purpose, man. But I'll fall back. Let's rock with the conversation.
Listen, I'm deferring to this question right here. I just want to ask y'all a question.
Like the Pookie and Ray Ray comment.
Yeah, the Pookie.
Why they just couldn't have regular names?
Names, right? But like, this is what I want to ask y'all, because this is a crime that was, committed in terms of, this kid getting his chain snatched and being killed and all of that, right? Yeah. And is there a difference between I'm doing this to feed my family or I'm doing this just because I want it?
Or for clout.
Or for clout or whatever, you know what I mean? Because I'm just like, in the statement that she's making, and I know a lot of people during that, they had their comments and they were saying like, yo, like, I've been in poverty. It never made me go out here and kill somebody for a chain.
You also then they go in that lifestyle.
Yeah, so some people are saying this, but I'm just asking, what is your opinion on that?
That's the thing. Like, if they was really doing it just because they was hungry, they wouldn't have killed the boy. They was making a point.
They was making a point, right?
Yeah, and that's the terrible part about it. Like, that man didn't have to die for that.
You know what's funny about that? Fat Joe spoke on this, and I have to say, listening to him in regards to this topic was a good thing, because we all come from the hood, and like you just said, I never understood why you had to take a man's life, especially when he's not presenting no threat to you.
Exactly. I
mean, you're gonna rob him anyway. You know what I mean? He's in Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. He's dressed like he want to have a good time with his girl or something like that, and out with his woman.
And then, even if you just wanted to gun buddy one time, just let him know you ain't playing no game. You didn't have to kill that man.
You didn't have to take his life. Yeah, that was.
I mean, if you keep it a shell, man, the kid he doesn't look that big. He does.
He a little guy.
And he a little guy, man. I'm pretty sure he's not a gangster. You know what I mean? So it's like, if it was one of those things where he was murderer, killer,
I don't think he's a gangster, but I know he wasn't soft. Like, the way he was talking on
everybody soft when that hammer come out. Everybody soft.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think he was soft. Like, he was from Philly. He's been around crime, and in every interview he's been consistent. He's been like, yo, you're not gonna press me, like, you just not gonna run up on me. Like, I backed somebody down before. Like, he may be little, but he's not, like, he wasn't no dummy. And that's why I'm kind of confused as to why, like I said, this is a new era. Like, I don't understand why people feel like if he was going to a award show, boom, I get it. That's why you rocking your jewels, whatever. You earn that. You deserve that. Whatever. If that's what you into. But I don't understand why going to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles would you have on that type of jewelry like you going to the Grammys.
I don't know him, you know what I mean? But I would think, I don't know, man. Maybe just the hood is so different from our age group now, where it's like, you got to know better.
In his interviews, he's like, ain't nobody testing me, though.
You got to know better.
That's just like being in the hood and a bull pull out the big mitt and start flipping out the bread. Because he's trying to impress people. Now, people, they go to the hood with their jewelry on in different states. Yeah, I'm out here, I'm getting money. I want you to see me.
I'm outside.
Right. Because it's a lot of dudes that, listen, it's a lot of old school dudes I be around. They might have thousands of dollars in their pocket at any given time, but they're not pulling it out every 5 seconds and counting it in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of know,
it's not wise.
You kind of know an older dude anyway, because an older dude will go to count his money. He'll turn his whole back to everybody. You know what I mean? Or go in the corner and start looking at his joint on the low. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these young dudes, they don't care. They pull it out like it's like almost like I want to show you my status.
I'm a grown man. I'm walking downtown Brooklyn to this day. I don't pull out my money and just start counting walking downtown Brooklyn. You know what I mean? And the funny thing is, Brooklyn is a lot nicer. Brooklyn is a lot nicer than when we grew up. You know what I mean?
And depending on where you go, Brooklyn's a lot nicer.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, depending where we grew up as a whole, this was a no-no in every part of New York. You know what I mean? But
it's different though. If you was 20, early 20s. I'm saying we might be moving in a different matter. We know we all did reckless things in our
Yes.
Yeah.
What's sad is this man left behind a child and his lady and his mother possibly his father. I don't know. Like, he left behind family, and that's what people don't get. Like, that's the part about somebody killing somebody and taking somebody's life. It affects you're not just ending that person's life. You ending a part of everybody's life that was involved.
Not only is he doing that, man, he's stopping generational wealth, man.
Yeah. He's feeding a lot of people.
And let me ask y'all a question, though, because I mean, I know we was getting ready to round off this topic, but it just popped in my head. The number of rappers that you actually seen, these young kids dying left and right. Like, it seems like every week some young kid is dying over this thing here. Do y'all think, like, back in the day when we was younger and C. Dolores Tucker was talking that stuff about, you know, hip hop is going to breed a lot of violence and things like that, man, and you kind of like seeing it come to pass? And as we get older and our thoughts change and all like that, do you kind of look back and say
she was right?
I mean,
she was right.
Shit, what do you think, Jay? What do you think, Jay? What do you think?
I don't think she was right. I think what it is these younger kids, they don't want to fight. They scared to get beat up. So everybody want to go grab a gun. Like back in the day, like it meant something to actually throw your hands. Like, man,
every
man,
summer.
you can't touch me.
Every summer was
that actually meant something.
All right.
Yeah.
Now these little dudes are scared. They want to shoot you from 30 feet away.
But I think, like, in regards to what she was saying, as I look back on it, like, I don't know, man. I got older, man, and I don't know, maybe mine is different now. The music is aggressive. It brings something out of you, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't say I loved it. I still love hip hop music. It was something that I just grew up on. You know, I try to pull away from it and stuff like that, and try to, you know, step away from listening to it because it's not my thing no more. But it's aggressive music. You know, you can say what you want. When we was kids and we was in the car and you put that MOP in the car, it could go left. You don't think it was like that, Jay? It's aggressive music, man. It'll put you in the mood.
It definitely
It'll put you in the mood to do something crazy.
Still.
I don't know. I don't think
if you was trying to get some money, maybe, but not just on some. I'm just trying to like shoot somebody and play a tag.
Right,
yeah.
I agree.
Even in the club, you know, when you think about it, you know, it's funny because I was like, man, like, you know, I was watching some documentary and they was talking about certain music that came on. And it was like when certain music came on in the club, someone would get hurt. You know what I mean? You know, when they played Onyx, Throw Your Guns in the Air in the club.
That's because that was our version of Marshall.
Just hold your head and, you know, get as close to your friends as possible. It was going to be a problem up in the club.
That's what it is, man. Music can make you love somebody or kill them.
So when we talk about
how it is, man,
I'm not saying that it turns people into it. I'm not saying necessarily a killer, but it can bring a violent emotion out of you. So, I mean, I think in that sense, with C. Dolores Tucker, she was an older woman. And I think at that time, and I think some of the things that she was saying was right. I don't agree with necessarily everything she said, but, you know, some of the things that she was saying.
Let me ask you this, though. So does movies do the same thing? Because nobody never says anything about all these movies.
Yeah, that argument has been made, J. Rob.
1 million people.
Yeah, I think that does too. Because I'm gonna tell you what's crazy about that is I think with all of these video games and stuff like that, I think it desensitizes these kids to whereas murder is second. It's nothing to them.
It's nothing.
Not for nothing, but a lot of religious people say stuff like that. A lot of people who are heavy into religion, they'll say a lot of the same comments. I know somebody else that says that they haven't listened to secular music since like the 90s because they feel as though when they listen to it, it puts them in a different state of mind, and that's not where they want to be. So not for nothing, a lot of people say that. Like, but to argue that fact, if you're of sound mind, like I'm not going to listen to Onyx and want to run outside and rob people.
Well, you know, no, I'm not saying that you're going to run outside and rob people. I'm just saying that when you listen to it, it can bring you into a violent state of mind. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be running out and wilding, but I mean, you're more apt to do something. You know what I mean? I
don't necessarily agree with that, but I do want to say, like, let's just keep in mind that this, and some of these people y'all may not know, like I can recognize a few, but this was something that was circulating on Instagram yesterday. So in the past 3 years' time, two violence we have lost: Juice WRLD, Nipsey Hussle, Pop Smoke, FBG Duck, Mo 3, King Von, Young Dolph, Draco the Ruler, Little Loaded. I don't know this person, EDA, I don't know, sorry for saying that wrong. Trouble, the dude out of Atlanta. FBG Cash, Jada Youngin, Little Key, and just recently PnB Rock. So, and a lot of those rappers we lost in Atlanta. Now I know the dude Trouble was a music producer. That's the one y'all know the story. He was over the girl's house, and the ex-boyfriend ran up and killed him. But listen
though, in contrast, because we all sitting on here, we of a certain age. You listed a whole slew of rappers, and those are the ones that we know. Now, I'm not talking about the little this, and this, the local rappers that might pop up in your news feed. So it was a slew of them as well. And here in our generation, we still talking about the big two, Pac and Big. You know what I mean? So if you really think about, like, in terms of generations, how much
it's a big difference.
It's a big difference in the violence in hip hop. I'm not going to say that during hold on for a second, Jess, but I'm not saying is that during that particular time of that whole East Coast, West Coast thing, it was more people that died over that besides Pac and Big. But the thing is that
that was more street stuff.
That was more street
people
stuff.
Did die.
It was more street stuff. But when we're talking about actual celebrities, to say like these are the ones that we're listening to, you know what I mean? When we go through, even if you're going back to the days of self-destruction and all of that, but Scott LaRock. Like, it popped up every now and again that X amount of people. Big Pun didn't die from gunshots.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
DMX neither.
DMX didn't die from gunshots. I mean, we might have people with drug habits and, bad diets, but these kids here are actually killing themselves or killing each other. I mean, literally killing themselves.
And then put it in the song.
Yeah, and put it in the song.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, what?
But then
we
talked about this. Yeah, but we talked about this.
But I said in regards,
isn't that what they plan to do? Remember, we talked about this. That's what they plan to do. That they plan to. This is a plan, and some of us fall for it because we're so used to not having that. When we get a little touch of that fame and that money, it's like we run with it. It takes over your mind.
Well, I think the major thing is what a lot of these guys are too, man, is that in our generation, it was important that, in hip hop music, that you were somewhat authentic. You know what I mean? Like, so when X and them and the Locks and certain rappers of our generation, they rolled out, they was in the street already. You know what I mean? So you know what happens now with these kids? You can sit in your house with some little keyboard or something like that, and you can make some heavy, hardcore Crip song or gangster song or whatever case may be, and it goes and it charts. The problem is that you got to go out there and perform that song, and everybody that is in them little small clubs that you got to go to, they want to see, are you who you say you are? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's the difference.
I think a lot with this drill music, they running around and they actually doing the nonsense just so they can come back and write a song about it.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
So J-Rob, now that we got you on here, you know what I mean? We already talked about this the other week. What do you feel about Fannie, what's her name? Fannie Willis, is it? That we talked about that's indicting these kids over that stuff.
Yeah, my thing is, man, you never know what's true and what's not true. Like,
right.
You can go ahead and say, well, he said this, so I'm gonna lock him up for it. Like, just because it's coincidentally like something that actually happened, if you ain't got no proof, you can't use no lyrics. I don't think that you should be able to do it.
You don't think so?
But then again, if you're dumb enough to actually do something, and then go put it in the record, then you need to go to. You need to be locked up.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I know you was bringing it home with that, brother. Like, if you're dumb enough to say it.
Yeah, but to his point, how do we know what's true and what's not? Because a lot of people are lying just to make a song. So I kind of agree with what he's saying right there.
Well, what happens is, like I said before, man, and we talked about this subject last time, and I was saying in regards to this is that the biggest thing with that whole thing is I kind of like what she's doing because I really want people to start deterring people from trying to do this gang thing. I mean, it's going to, I want them to start to make kids want to get away from it. But I don't want you just to lock up innocent children, just because they want to be down. And like we were saying before, to this day and age with that RICO law and these gang charges, all you got to do is have a tattoo on of the block, and you're indicted with everybody else. You know what I mean?
That's the bigger problem is that what's really RICO and what's not.
Yeah. That's a major thing. I was saying that before because I'm tired of people calling, I want to quote Tamika Mallory, Ray Ray, and whatever, like, what she say, Ray Ray and Tookie or whatever.
And Keisha.
Keisha, whatever case with Pookie and Man and every whatever. Yo, man, in regards to that, it's not a criminal enterprise. You know what I mean? They didn't, you know, like a lot of these people that even the old drug dealers that we watch, or, you know, they do these documentaries, they didn't have no criminal enterprise. They had about 3 or 4 people that they sold a lot of drugs. They made some money amongst themselves, but they
not organized crime.
They weren't the mafia. You know what I mean? They didn't have like threads all over America and, you know, a connection to, you know, Panama or wherever they're getting their drugs from. It's just a bunch of cats. They found a plug and they sold drugs. That was it. Simple as that.
Speaking of that, since everybody want to get somebody on RICO, how come ain't nobody attacking these unions that these mafia still is behind?
Yeah. Yeah, and what's funny is they make these movies and they still kind of even insinuate that there's people that are still in these unions that are still mafioso connected. But I don't even know how strong the mob is anymore. Unless we just talking about
they're there.
I'm not saying that they ain't, but I mean, I remember at one time another as a child, it was you would be scared to talk about the mafia. You know what I mean? They
operate in industries that's necessary, shipping, construction, you know, stuff like that, to where they can hide so-called behind, you know, the cloak of innocence.
They're more corporate now than anything.
I was going to say the biggest mafia sits right there in the White House, guys.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find some kid in Philly or New York or in California right now that's in regards to the street stuff is intimidated by the mob.
All right, speaking of government mobs, we're gonna move on. All right. Did y'all hear about these migrant workers being shut off?
Nah.
All right, let's talk.
Go ahead, speak on it.
All right, check this out. So Ron DeSantis, you know, the governor out of Florida, I believe it was, he took a bunch of migrant workers, I think like 50 of them or so, put them on a plane and sent them over to Martha's Vineyard. So they didn't really know what was going on. They just, you know, you promising them work or whatever, you coaxing them onto the plane. They get on the plane, land in Martha's Vineyard. We don't know where we at. We don't know what's going on. So, of course, Martha's Vineyard, they weren't, you know, equipped to handle the amount of people that came over there. And so what happens is they had to kind of scramble to get resources for these people, as well as have, you know, recruit like local high school kids to come and translate that was Spanish speaking and all. And it's crazy. But as I'm reading the story and I'm listening to the reports, I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, is this like, do you think this is a form of like human trafficking even? Because you have a lot of Republican governors that's actually doing this, where they're busting them off. They dropped for a couple not too far from Kamala Harris' house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I you know, initially when I thought of it, I was thinking about that, but now I look at it, it's just a political hustle.
Yeah. They were saying
it's
like
a political hustle. It's just really
like
they want to throw this whole thing in Kamala Harris and Joe Biden face, because they talking about this. You know, the immigrants coming to America and different things like that, and they're basically saying that to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, it's like, yeah, you can talk this stuff because you live in Delaware, or you from the state of Delaware, and Kamala Harris, you're up here. What she is in Martha's Vineyard or something like that?
Oh no, that was in D.C. that they actually did. They had DC? A busload that went to D.C. So they go into all of these different cities.
And so many words they're saying, like, yo, listen, we can't place we in Texas, we can't place these immigrants here. So here, you take them. You know what I mean? So it's actually kind of.
It's trying
sick.
to be spiteful.
Yeah, it's spiteful and sick.
And you know what it is? It's all, what they're trying to say is, oh, you don't want to roll.
Republicans is nasty. It was funny when you watch them if you watch their press conferences as they're sending these people, they're laughing in the press conference.
Yeah.
They're trying to say, since you didn't want the wall, here they go.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact.
I'm like, I know it sounds funny, but that's what they're saying. Like, that's how spiteful they are. It's just sad. It's really, really sad, because you putting people on a bus.
It's dirty, man.
And they don't know where they're going.
You know, politics
familiar?
Somebody tell you. They're doing it. They're doing it again.
Yeah.
Doing it again. Just this time it's not a ship. They doing it again.
Yeah.
Like they saying, yo, you want to work? You want to work? We got this work over here for you. And they put them on a bus and they don't know where they at.
I've heard that sales pitch before. It didn't go good the first time.
Nah, it didn't.
That's why black people don't like getting in the water right now, man.
Don't get on the bus. Don't get on the bus.
Don't get on the bus, plane, train, or nothing. But it's like, it's
and that's
crazy.
sad. How do they get away with this though? That's what's so sad. And the sad part is, you know, I was
They're actually trying to put a case against them right now.
Yeah.
I was out at dinner and a Caucasian lady was talking. It was like a group of Caucasian ladies. And the Caucasian lady was like, if white people don't recognize right now, like what they're doing is wrong when it comes to black people and what they've done is wrong. Like, instead of saying it wasn't me, it was my grandparents, and just own up to it, like you still playing a part because you're still like living the dream while others are struggling, then there's something wrong with you. If you don't see it now, in the past couple of years, which you should have been seeing all along, there's something wrong with you. And you know, people were still arguing. I had to laugh. I'm sitting there like, yo, it's sad because they're so conditioned. Right. They're so conditioned to feel in a way that they feel. They don't think they're doing anything.
They don't want to see it. I mean, some people are purposely blind to, tragedies and atrocities that happen.
They
in
have
America,
selective amnesia.
But it's a sick individual. It's a sick individual that will put a child on a bus from Texas to Martha's Vineyard, and with his family and everything like that, and lie to them and tell them that they're going to get work or they're going to be a better situation when they get somewhere.
Yeah, what do you think we talking about, man? We know it.
It is. We've seen this hustle before. You know what I mean?
No. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't understand.
Remember the blankets with the smallpox?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I would like to know what happened to the all the people that they put in those detention centers and the babies that got separated from the families. Like, they never said nothing about them babies if they ever got back with their families. And there's people that's being deported that's in those centers still to this day. And you know what? My friend's husband, I don't know if I told you.
What's funny, in about 20 years, you'll hear like a new cocaine cowboy story or something like that. That's weird. Yeah. They'll say where that started.
Funny, though, it's sad because, like, even my friend's husband, he got deported, right? He got deported. And when he finally was able to get in touch with her, like when he got back to his country, he was like, yo, it was the scariest thing he had ever been through, because within those, it's like they almost knew to put this group of people in with this group of people who don't like each other, that have a known history of having beef, just so that they could. He said people was dying left and right.
Yeah, so they can kill each other.
Hypothetically speaking, like, I don't know who has beef, but say they put, like, I'm Dominican and they put me in the same area as Venezuelans, knowing that me and this group of Venezuelans or this part of Venezuela, we don't get along at all, and they basically saying, go ahead, do what you want. We don't care. They're not feeding them. They're not giving them showers like that. Nothing until they can get you back to your country.
What's the kid say?
That they taking our taxpayers' dollars and spending a whole lot of money to ship them back to their country.
What's the kid say? This is America.
Yeah.
This is America, man. Stop playing around. This is the biggest problem. This is the problem that people don't walk, that walk around here with their heads in the cloud, man. This is America. It is what it is, man. You know what I mean? They do it to black people. They put black people in Bloods and Crips in cells. They put them in the same neighborhood, whatever the case may be, and they off each other, man. That's what happens. You know what I mean? So it's not like something that's old. It's not something that's new. It's old.
Yeah, it's that whole Darwinism. See who comes out and
the survival of the fittest.
That's what it is. All right, so we're gonna get ready to wrap up, but I just want to say once again, man, after everything is said and done, smash up the likes. Smash up the likes.
Stop playing around, man. We put a lot of money in commissary.
Put
a lot of commissary. We done help people get jobs. You know what I mean? We done reformed people.
No, but in all seriousness, though,
stop
man.
Playing around.
In all seriousness, we trying to get some information out here, y'all. Like for people who don't know certain things.
I let people stay in my house. Stop playing around at that like button.
Notifications, like buttons, subscribe is the big thing, man.
You stayed in my house and didn't pay rent, hit that like button.
Put a one in the chat if you owe me some money.
Right.
All right, y'all.
I chipped in on some Pampers, hit that like button.
All right, man. Y'all bugging right now. The Only One Mic podcast is available on all major platforms that you stream your podcast on. Also, check out our Only One Mic podcast YouTube channel to catch up on the past and current episodes. And please, again, don't forget to rate the show and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to get in contact with the Only One Mic podcast, you can reach us via Instagram and Twitter at the Only One Mic P1, Facebook and LinkedIn at the Only One Mic podcast, and also by way of email at the Only One Mic 00@gmail.com. And there you can leave your comments. So again, we thank you for your time.
Don't get locked up again.
Yeah.
Hit that subscribe button.
Hit that subscribe button, man. And we encourage you to speak your truth quietly and clearly and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant, because they too have their story to tell. So, J-Rob, I know that, I can't even count you as a guest, man, because you're a brother. So he'll be back, folks. He'll be back, definitely. Also.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, no problem,
definitely, bro.
Definitely. All right, so until next time, please keep in mind that we never had to run from the Ku Klux Klan, so we shouldn't have to run from a black man. Peace. Oh, wait. I forgot to tell y'all something, too. Subscribe. All right. Peace.
Stop playing around.
Stop playing around, man.